Ladies and gentlemen, if there's any more doubt about how bad the Chicago Bulls are, I think today adamantly answered the Bulls suck. We're going to talk about it all and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. That's Pat, the designer, host, and creator of the Windy City Breeze. I'm Haize, host, creator of Chicago Bulls Central, Chicago Bears Central.
I don't get and host of the Chicago Bears podcast no more. I don't get it.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, we're getting back in rhythm. It's our third episode back. Don't worry, we'll get it. And host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. And today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Now the perfect time to join. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Pat, you know who didn't run their game today? The Bulls, because they showed no effort today. I can't say that they ran any type of game. They got outworked in every facet of the game, despite a little bit where it looked like in that third quarter, okay, I think they took like a 2-point lead at one point. It was like, all right, maybe the Bulls just needed a little bit of a wake-up call. No, the Portland Trail Blazers adamantly fought harder in this game. They wanted it more. They had 62 points in the paint, 24 second chance points to only 15 for the Chicago Bulls, 19 points off turnovers on top of that, and 17 points off fast break points compared to the Bulls' only 6 fast break points. They also out-rebounded us 50-36. Pat, I'm going to turn it over to you. Is there any type of redeeming anything from this game from the Chicago Bulls?
The Chicago Bulls are now ninth in the lottery right now, and
been ninth in the lottery.
Well, as you keep running the simulation, we're pretty firmly in ninth. I'll tell you that. Yeah, I ran about 50 times between the fourth quarter start and about 2 minutes into Billy Donovan's press conference. Who, listen, he's just airing it all out. He's like, you want to know what's wrong with this team? I'll tell you. But listen, at the end of the day, if there's anything salvageable from this game, it's the fact that maybe P. Will showed a little bit of heart, except, it came the day after pretty much the Chicago Bulls said, we're willing to trade P. Will. I don't know if there's anything really salvageable in this game. I think that this was a game that showed you that no matter who the Chicago Bulls match up, they're not prepared for them. And at a certain point, it feels very similar to what we continue to say about the Lakers, even though the Lakers are winning more, but it's not the coaching, which it does all play a part together, right? But you can swap all of these things out. You can swap out the coach. You can swap out the role players. It's the roster as a whole. It's this organization. It's this team. And until the team realizes that, the only thing that you can really hang your hat on is the fact that if you keep these guys together, you probably will be able to hold on to your draft pick when the draft comes around and when the draft lottery hits.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll talk about that a little bit in the second segment. But this game, I don't even know how to really word it without going off. I kind of went on a passion rant over on Central. I know I have to kind of get myself contained here to actually just break things down. I don't know, Pat, and this is a little bit of a conversation we had over on Central. Somebody said, is this actually worse than the Boylan era? And in a little bit, I'll say yes. And the reason why I say yes is because this team actually has some talent. That team we knew. Like, when you're starting campaign and Cristiano Felicio, we know that you can only win so many games, right? Like, but this team does have some talent. And while I in no way expected them to be like outside the plan, like this stretch of losses that we've gone on, Pat, is embarrassing. Like, you had 4 straight games against teams sub 500. And we actually started talking about this, I think it was the day before you came back. And I was like, this is going to be a week in either where the anti-tankers are going to come out of this week and say, hey, we got 4 games in a row. We're right there. Or the pro tankers are going to come out of this week and say, see, this is why we should be tanking. The pro tankers adamantly won this week.
No, listen, it's at the end of the day, this is a game where you saw, like you said, minimal fight. I think you saw that just a consistent confusion from the Bulls. Defensively, they never know where they're supposed to be. If they do rotate the right way, they don't show the skill set or the fight or the effort to actually stop anybody from getting to where they want to go to. The few times that they do show fight is usually at the end of a quarter where they say, okay, we got to catch up a little bit here so that we can try to make this manageable moving forward. But you saw the Bulls lose 2 quarters massively back to back, and then they try to fight their way back in the fourth quarter, and they're able to play a little bit more defense, keep things close. But they think they're a team that can turn it on and off, and they're just not. And that's why you lose games to teams like the Portland Trailblazers. The Chicago Bulls do not get up for a game every single night. And yes, there's moments tonight where you can look at officiating and say, wow, that really hurts you. But at a certain point, you just watch Nikola Vucevic dominate in the paint for 40 points in a game, and you basically didn't try to even feed him down there nearly as much. You didn't try to get him nearly as involved in the game plan in this game, in a game where your best defenders are DeAndre Ayton and Jeremy Grant down low. Jeremy Grant, the best of the two. But if Patrick Williams isn't playing like a useless piece of you-know-what on the court, then, I mean, maybe Jeremy Grant has to focus on him, and that makes things easier. It all comes back to effort. This Bulls team has no effort. This Bulls team has no heart. This Bulls team has minimal execution, and when you look at all of those things combined, it leads you here. Yes, you're going to have games where you have more talent, but this talent doesn't work well together. We saw that 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, I mean, even though some of the faces have changed, the results stay the same. Now, I know we both talked about Billy Donovan, and he has been very honest in regards to the state of this team and things like that. How much of this, when you look at this team, do you put on coaching? How much is it do you just weigh to the players?
Listen, I've always said it's more on the players because we've seen great players overcome bad coaching. Do I think there are moments where Billy Donovan needs to be better, put guys in right positions? Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and tell you there aren't. Do I think that there's moments where Billy Donovan needs to improve on an out of bounds call? 100%. We lost 2 games this season off of one off of a 5-second violation, one off of basically throwing it off a defender's back. Do I think that there are things that Billy Donovan needs to improve on? 100%. But I've said this multiple times. Hey, it's like, Billy Donovan's not sitting there telling you not to close out on a defender in the quarter. And he brought that up in the press conference today, right? You have to close out on those guys, or you're going to put yourself in a bad situation. And they didn't even shoot the basketball well tonight from the 3-point line. It's
at all. But they did stop shooting. They didn't shoot nearly as the frequency that they usually shoot.
Yeah, no, only shot 31 3-pointers tonight. But I think, when you have these conversations, a lot of times it just comes down to player execution. Tonight was a night of player execution. The Bulls didn't shoot it well from 3, and so it seemed like their entire identity was gone because they've turned themselves into this win by the 3, die by the 3 team, which is fine. But when you're dying by the 3, that's when you need to say, okay, that shot's not falling. We need to show a little bit more effort on the defensive end, and they can't even be bothered to do that. And I love the fact that coming into this game, the conversation about Billy Donovan, I don't know if you saw this, where Casey Johnson was talking to Billy about, well, if you're willing to trade P. Will and you feel like he's not playing up to snuff, why do you keep starting him? Why wouldn't you give somebody like Modest Buzelis an opportunity to get in this starting lineup and see what he's got? He said, well, we still like that 3-and-D action that Patrick Williams can bring us. Well, he's not knocking down the 3 ball, not taking enough of them for us to feel good about it, not knocking down the 3 ball. He shot at 40% today, but on the season, yeah, he's kind of hit or miss. He'll have a hot day. He'll have an extremely cold day. And defensively, I keep saying this, when you play that mediocre, the D part of the defense needs to be lockdown defense. And Patrick Williams gets beat all the time.
I mean, Patrick Williams at this point, I don't even know if we can call him 3-and-D. You weren't here when I went over all the stats. Like P. Will's averaging, like players that he guards, I think shooting nearly 3% better than their season averages. He's given up a 60% possession on one-on-one situations, 71% at the rim. Patrick Williams, we can no longer say that he's a functional defender, but the good defender days, that's done with. He hasn't been that this season.
Remember what I said about Sadiq Bey?
You mean what Koo said about Sadiq Bey?
No. Koo was trying to say that Sadiq Bey was a good player that could figure it out in this league. I
thought that Koo was the one that said he's a 3-and-D player that doesn't shoot the 3 ball effectively and doesn't guard it.
Oh yes, that is true. That is how we got there. But he was trying to make it sound like, but you can figure, yeah, we got him. No, it's Patrick Williams now. That's exactly what he is. He's a 3-and-D player that I guess he does shoot the 3 well, but it's such a up and down. Sometimes he's hot, sometimes he's not, and he's only taken 5 of them. So it's not like you're getting volume 3s out of him. He's a 3-and-D player that you can't count on for the 3, and defensively, What are we really looking at?
I'm glad you didn't go where I thought you were going to go with that phrase, because I was going to have a joke.
I had to go through whenever you say 3 and D, you got to say whatever you're saying about the D the right way.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Well, we're going to continue talking about this team and ask the question, is the tank officially on for the Chicago Bulls? Before we get into that, we do got to get into a message from one of our sponsors, and this one is Prize Picks. Basketball season is heating up, and there's no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars than with Prize Picks. Whether you're a diehard fan or just love some friendly competition, Prize Picks makes it fun and easy to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. Here's how it works. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up 1,000 times your cash. You think LeBron's going to drop 30 points? Or maybe Luke is getting more than 8 assists? Prize Picks lets you make your predictions and put your money where your mouth is in just 60 seconds. I've been using Prize Picks all season, and let me tell you, I've been having a blast. Last week, I picked Jason Tatum for more than 29 points and Anthony Edwards for more than 25 points. That's the kind of action I'm talking about. And with the Prize Picks Flex Play option, even if one of your picks doesn't hit, I can still double my money. Plus, once I hit, I get my money fast, sometimes as quick as in 15 minutes. That sounds like a Joy Taylor ad. It's honestly the best way to keep the game exciting. Now's the perfect time to join. Download the app and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. Oh man, so we're not going to hear the typical Pat the Designer Chicago Bulls winning dance thing number anymore. Like that's not coming back anytime soon, is it?
I forgot about that.
You forgot about that?
I guess I will. I don't even know if I should bring it back for this season. It's not even worth it to bring it back for this season, bro. Like, these mugs suck. Is it even worth it to bring it back?
Well, to get into this next topic, Pat. So at the beginning of the season, it was noted that the Bulls were going to give this team 35 games to evaluate it, right, and see where they are. That 35 game mark was the New York Knicks Derrick Rose night game. That was the 35 game mark. We did win one game after that. And since that point in time, it's been basically a bunch of crap. So, Pat, throw it over to you. Is the tank officially on for the Chicago Bulls?
I think the tank is on in a way that if you're going to tank, I kind of am more agreeable to it, right? I don't believe tanking wins you championships, I should say. I think that tanking does get you to a point, but I think it instills a mentality of losing in a team that they're never able to shake. There are a lot of teams who end up going on to win, and they didn't tank to win. They tried to figure it out. You look at the Milwaukee Bucks, right? There was not really a tank for Giannis. You end up getting Giannis late. You evaluated his talent the right way. It ends up working out for you in the long run. He turns into an absolute monster. When you talk about the teams that tank, look at the Philadelphia 76ers. They've got all the names that you can get in a tank. Heck, they've got one of the names I wish we got in a tank in Tyrese Maxey. But they also sit right now 13th in the no, they're not that far, but they might be right below us. I think they're right behind us. They're 11th right now. I think they won a game the other day. That's a team that tanked. You look at the Spurs. Maybe the Spurs are figuring it out. Wembanyama is a freak of nature, and maybe that's one that finally proves it to be true. But you also just didn't have much talent on the Spurs anymore. So I don't even know how much of it was tanking. Well, I guess that was a tank because Pop traded all the talent away. You had DeJounte Murray on it. So I guess that was a tank. But we'll see what ends up coming from that. But in this situation with the Chicago Bulls, I think that this is the best situation for them to try and do this in, because it doesn't seem like you're going to be able to move Zach LaVine. I think he's going to be here post-trade deadline. Maybe you're able to move Nikola Vucevic. You've got some young talent on this team that you want to get playing more, especially a guy like Miles Buzelis. And if you start to move some of those pieces off of Patrick Williams, a Nikola Vucevic, you move Jalen Smith into that starting lineup and try and see what you have with pieces like that. going out and adding the probable number 9 overall pick, unless it absolutely falls off the rails, is not a bad situation to add with a Zach LaVine, with a Jalen Smith, with a Kobe White, with an Ayo Dosunmu, because now you're not just throwing them out there and saying, hey, right now it's all on you. It allows a young player to develop and hopefully be able to take the reins and take over and turn into that player that you hope for them to eventually be, while still having some help next to them. I think that's the best situation to be in if you're going to try and tank.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I had talked a little bit about that, I think, earlier last week, maybe the week before, is that the Bulls have a really nice chance to keep their pick. And if they do that while keeping Zach LaVine and even Nikola Vucevic on that, it provides a few different things, right? You can transition naturally from Zach to the new player, and Zach can, we've seen that Zach can be a complimentary player, whatever it is, if that player shows themselves to be somebody that you can build around. That's still a big if, right?
Yep.
And also that once you have that pick in-house and you feel confident about what that player is, it may make you more apt to trade other players, right? To trade a Vooch, maybe even trade a Zach or a Kobe if that player's a guard, whatever it is. It just can clear your direction. If the Bulls don't have to trade Vooch and Zach or Zach to just keep that pick, it actually adds a lot more flexibility in the future. And again, this still is all hinging upon them getting it right with the pick. So that's another thing we have to worry about. But it just clears some things up. So I do think that this team is just bad. I really do. I think this is just a bad basketball team. I picked this team to win 30 to 35 games this season.
Yep.
They're on pace right now to win 34 games. And at some point, right, and you were still here at the beginning of this, there were people who were arguing with us that this was a team that could get to 500. We do this every day for I would say for fun, but out of the love, right? Because this ain't been fun in a while, out of the love. And so I think that not only, and this is why I titled it like this over on Central, the fans need one of the biggest wake-up calls. And it's whether it's a small vocal group of fan base or whatever else, this is not a good basketball team. This is a team that has some talent, but having talent in the NBA does not mean that you're a good basketball team. And I think some people got wrapped up in the fact that we do have some talent, but how you fit that talent together, who's leading that talent, how does that talent step up? These are all things that are important in that. So, I know that it's easier in the mind to rectify it as saying, well, they're tanking now. And I hate to tell y'all, this isn't a team that's tanking. They're just a bad, heartless basketball team.
Just bad. And listen, that does a lot of times that can put you in the right direction. This is how teams got players back in the day.
Yeah.
Teams didn't tank. It realistically, the what's it called? The load management turned into tanking. Pop used to use load management where this all started because he didn't want Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker tired when they got to the playoffs because they had to go through Kobe Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
That's what load management started as. Teams then started saying, well, if we just don't try or we don't play our guys down the stretch or we can't figure it out, then we'll just end up not being good and we'll get better players from it, blah, blah, blah. Pop didn't tank. They got Tim Duncan by the best center in the NBA at that time, breaking his leg. Like it's an apples to apples situation. So I think there is a path for the Bulls to find good talent in the draft, be able to hold on to that draft pick by doing it this way. Because, and I love that you said that it's not just talent that gets you wins anymore. There's talent all over the NBA. I don't know if you know this. The Phoenix Suns have one of the greatest scores in NBA history. On their team. They suck. Nothing fits. They literally were in a dogfight to the Pistons the other day, who are a better basketball team right now this season than they were last year.
Very much so. But
they shouldn't be able to compete with the greatest scorer. One of the greatest scorers in NBA history, arguably could say the greatest scorer. And we're not going to say that, but you could because of how he gets his buckets. But I mean, like it's a different NBA. Just having talent doesn't work anymore. You have to have talent that fits together, that gels together, and everybody is on the same page. And the Bulls don't have that.
Yeah. I mean, that's just no other way to put it. Like, the Bulls don't have that, and they need to find a way to get it. And for these fans that were so adverse, like, change is going to happen. It just is. It's inevitable. Change is going to have to happen. Now, you got to hope that they're making the right changes, but changes is going to have to happen. And let's hope that this franchise can be on the other side of that. Now, one of the changes that may come down the road, as I pulled an audible, and Pat, I don't know if you realize I changed the thing on the fly.
I realized you was doing it as I said P. Will's on the trade block. Your brain
I was like, oh, wait, we didn't talk about that. So we're going to talk about one of the things that could be traded. That's P. Will being on the trade block right after this. From the whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. They also got you covered because on their site, they got everything that you need to make an informed bet. Live play-by-play, analysis, advanced stats, everything that you need is right there on the FanDuel app, so you can get all the information that you need to make an informed bet on the same page where you place your bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's FanDuel.com. Make the playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. All right, Patrick.
We're doing this
first
again?
one since you came back.
We're doing this again?
Yeah, listen, we're right back at where we left off. The team is in the same place where you left. We're right back where you left off.
Literally, if you cut out the 4 months that I wasn't here, I could have literally come back the next episode with the exact same conversation. I told somebody today, I was like, they were like, bro, why do you watch the Bulls? You can literally talk about them without watching them because they're the same team. And I was like, I genuinely want my team to win games, dog. Like, I like watching the Bulls. I just hate who they are.
Yeah. This is where we are, bro. This is exactly where we are, man.
It's bad.
It's very bad. It's very bad. Well, talking about bad, Patrick Williams. This is a perfect segue into that.
There we go.
I already kind of gave the numbers out. So over the weekend, it came out from Joe Cowley that AK is kind of finally ready to put Patrick Williams on the trade block. Some of the interesting things from this article that's kind of stuck out as well is that apparently Patrick Williams is hard to work with. Now, to my knowledge, correct me if I'm I don't think we've ever heard that Patrick Williams is hard to work with.
Yeah,
and then even going so far as to say that basically Peter Patton, after working with Patrick Williams about a year and a half now, almost 2 years, is basically at his wit's end when it comes to Patrick Williams. Now, this is a Joe Cowley article, so take it how you're going to take it. But hearing all this about P. Will, how does this? I already know you were one of the first people out on P. Will. It used to be some of the debates that we got into on the show. How you feeling, Pat? You feeling vindicated now?
We got to go back and see. I might be the first confirmed person to call him a bust.
I think that was P. Kid. Remember, P. Kid was calling him a bust.
Well, P. Kid was calling him a bust out of the draft. That was P. Kid was 20 games in. It was like, this kid's a bust. Hey, maybe that's a heck of a call. He was right. He was right. But no, listen, I think that Patrick Williams is, I'll say this. He has all the talent in the world. Legitimately, whenever he decides to do what you want him to do, he can do it. He can jump out of the gym. He's as strong as an ox. He has a 1-2 dribble pull-up that technically started working this season when he actually wants to use it. I think Patrick Williams is a bust. But my focus here can't be on P. Will, because are you going to sit here and tell me?
If you say bust 3 times, Joy Taylor pops up.
You gotta stop.
I'm not.
We have nothing confirmed yet. Let's at least let the court system play out.
There you go. I fixed it. Allegedly.
Yeah, throw it allegedly on there. But your timeline, I can't look at P. Will and he's exactly who I thought he was. And your timeline of things was, hey, P. Will, we know that you're not very good, but we hope that you will be. So here's $90 million.
Mm-hmm.
And then 40 games into the season, you come out and go, we don't think you should be here anymore. We think you need to change the scenery. Like, that's not good GMing. Patrick Williams is exactly who I expected him to be. Everybody was talking about, well, maybe he'll get this step and there'll be a jump and and I think when you hear, I think there's a way that you have to hear everything. When you say you're at your wit's end with Patrick Williams, let me ask you this. If you're coaching your son, playing football, right? Y'all was football. He's playing football, playing running back. And you see one day he runs for 200 yards. He's running over kids that are bigger than him. He's looks like Barry Sanders on the field, offensive line falling over. He goes 10 yards back, scores a touchdown, and then he never does it again. Are you not going to be at your wit's end with Patrick Williams? Oh, I'm sorry, with your son.
Absolutely.
To me, that's P. Will. You saw P. Will be the guy that you dreamed of him being. And then you never saw it again. And it was one game versus Anthony Edwards in his rookie year.
Well, I mean, he's done it more times than that. I mean, Patrick Williams last year, and that was his second year, the one against Anthony Edwards.
That second year?
Yeah, that was second year. But like last year, all through December, Patrick Williams was killing it in December. You see these flashes, and every year they've gotten more. Like as far as like it went from one game to two games to three, whatever it happens. But the problem is that it's never consistent. There are a lot of people who stay around the NBA a long time for flashes, right? The thing that worries me the most about P. Will is the thing that used to be the constant with him was defense. Now that that's starting to slide and his 3-point shooting percentage is down, it's getting harder and harder to defend you.
And I think even this, right? Like when I say that he dominated, right? Those games in December last year, he was solid. He looked like a good piece that you could have on your team. You didn't draft solid at the 4th overall pick. You were hoping for much more from Patrick Williams.
I mean, you hope that from any draft pick. But
when I say that Anthony Edwards game, I think what he finished with 39 in that game.
I think it's 30-something. I can't remember.
Like 39, dominant on the rebounding, literally just had the reins and did everything. That's the guy that you want to step up. And here's my biggest problem with it. There's no bigger team than the Chicago Bulls for you to do that in. There have been multiple moments for Patrick Williams where we literally have gone into games and go, there's no one else alive. Literally, it's you tonight. Kobe's hurt. Zach's hurt. Vooch is out here, but it's literally just you and Vooch. That's all you have. Go kill it. He comes out of it with 6 points, 5 shots. Like, at a certain point, you have to literally just say that's who this guy is. I understand why Peter Patton is frustrated with him. I don't know if that means he's hard to work with. Now, maybe he is, but I think that's more of a, I see everything you can do and you're doing none of it.
At some point, you got it. Like, and the thing that I say is that it's been way too many caveats given to P. Will at this point. Like, and not to say that P. Will there's still the potential in P. Will. I want to be clear, but at some point, you have to realize it may not happen there. And at some point, you got to realize how much can you keep investing? Because I remember when people were saying P. Will needs to work for dribble too much. That'll fix his dribble. Then we'll start seeing he's been with dribble too much the last 3 years. He needs to get with a shooting coach. The Bulls don't have a shooting coach. He's been working with Peter Patton for 2 years. He needs to develop. We brought in somebody who developed Michael Porter Jr. and Jokic. We brought them in who's worked hand in hand with him, who actually travels with them, and nothing's happening. At some point, you've accumulated the Avengers of player development, and he's still where he is.
Now, granted, the whole team is still where they are, so maybe that goes deeper than just P. Will there. But
no, you can look. Io's taking a considerable leap from where he was his rookie year. Kobe's still inconsistent. He has his things. Like, do you see Kobe creating today? He did a pretty good job. So no, everybody's gotten better, but P. Will. Everybody's gotten better in some shape, form, or fashion than P. Will. Dalen Terry went from looking like a gazelle in the headlights to actually sometimes defending pretty well, right? Everybody's gotten better at something. P. Will is the exact same. Not to say that they've turned into these magic NBA players. Yeah. P. Will is the same guy he was his rookie year.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'll give you that. Dalen Terry is a good example. I think Julian Phillips is a really good example. Not to say that they've turned into elite NBA players, but they're definitely better than where they were. I'll be real with you. It's to a point with me where every game that you play P. Will more than you play Modest, you're hurting Modest's development. Like by the time we get post trade deadline, he should be in the starting lineup.
If you listen to Billy Donovan, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. And
at all. Doesn't seem like it's going to happen at all. I mean, they're going to throw Torrey Craig back out there, and he just keep getting Meg Thee Stallion injuries, which shout out to you, Torrey. Wish I could be injured.
Listen, between Torrey Craig hurting his pull a hammy or whatever it was, then, after Kobe White releases that TikTok with his girlfriend, he's out with a mysterious neck injury. They not focused on basketball right now, bro. That's all I'm saying.
They having freak offs up at the United Center. Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me? Are you saying there's a hefty supply of baby oil up at the Berto Center, dog? Is that what you're saying?
Oh man.
Are you saying that these mugs are out here wilding center court Dennis Rodman style, dog?
Oh man, Michael Reinsdorf showing up to the freak off. That's crazy. I think that's the perfect place to end the show. Freak offs came up. I think we're done. I think we did what we came to do. Anything left, Pat, before we get up out of here, man?
No, man, I'm all used up.
All right. We want to thank you guys for tuning in, man. Make sure you guys go and support Pat over at Pat the Designer. You can follow me at CEO Haize. Locked on Bulls is free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, the Odyssey app, Amazon Fire TV. And I think at this point as well, we're like streaming directly to the moon. So if you're ever there, you can find us there as well. Make sure you also go to LockedOnDaily.com to sign up for the daily Locked On Bulls newsletter. Love you guys. Go Bulls, man. We'll see y'all tomorrow after the game. It's a late one, so make sure y'all are ready. Peace, y'all.
Peace. Billy Baby Oil Donovan is nuts.
Billy Baby Oil Donovan is so nuts.
You want to see a picture of the freak off and get some JD8 rolling by.
Bubblegum flavored baby oil.
Hey, oh. He's chewing on something.
It's not wins.